Hi there, this is Pastor Charlie, and it is Wednesday on a very strange and a very different Holy Week. On Monday, we invited the people of our church to join with us in a series of readings throughout Holy Week that will take us all the way up till Easter Sunday. If you've been following with that reading pattern, then today you will have read, or maybe later you will be reading, chapters 24 and 25 of Matthew's Gospel. Suffice for me to say, there is an awful lot going on in these two chapters, much more than I could ever go into detail on in a 3 or 4 minute devotional video. But I do want to make it very plain to you that when Jesus is telling these stories and pointing to these things in chapters 24 and 25, what he is saying to his listeners is this, that a new day is coming. Some things are about to change dramatically. He's pointing to the destruction of the temple, for example, the very center of religious life for those who are listening to Jesus and for those who Matthew is talking about. These people who were hearing these words when they were spoken were living in perilous times, and the things that Jesus was saying to them in that moment were very real and were very true. Often we can lift these phrases out of chapters like Matthew 24 and make them point to our own times and point to the possibility of the end of times approaching. I'm not so sure that that's what Matthew was doing or what Jesus was doing in that moment. But that doesn't mean that these words don't have things to say to us today. And so in chapter 24 of the Gospel, we hear Jesus continuing to point his listeners towards the fact that something different is about to happen, that big things and big changes are before them. And then in chapter 25, he uses these parables, these illustrations to encourage his people to remain ready and to be prepared. And so he talks about the parable of the 10 bridesmaids, 5 of whom were wise and were prepared, and 5 of whom were ill-prepared and deemed foolish. Then we hear the story of the parable of the talents, of how a landowner gave talents to his workers, and 2 out of the 3 of them took the talents and turned them into something more, and one of them, gripped by fear, buried what he had and did nothing with it. And then at the end of chapter 25, we have this illustration where Jesus talks about the Son of Man returning in his glory with all of his angels with him and separating the sheep and the goats to his right and to his left. He goes on there to talk about the importance of the difference between the sheep and the goats. The sheep were the ones who reached out a helping hand in the hardest of times, and to them Jesus said, "Whenever you did this to one of the least of these, my brothers and sisters, you did it unto me." The ones who were ill-prepared, the ones who kept the good news to themselves, were the ones who did not reach out a helping hand in times of trouble. And to them, Jesus said, "Whenever you did not do these things to the least of these, my brothers and sisters, you did not do them unto me." My friends, we are living through very strange times. We hear that phrase again and again. And these are strange times that are going to continue for the foreseeable future. Strange times in which many of our friends, our neighbours, our family members may enter into intense struggle. I want you and me, the people of God, the followers of Christ, to be known as the ones who reached out a hand to help in times of trouble for those around us. So that when Jesus comes and says to us, he will say, "Whenever you did this to one of the least of these, my brothers and sisters, you did it unto me." Memorial, we are a grace-filled family. We are a church with mission at our heart, who longs to do the bidding of Christ in the world. As you listen to this devotional today, I know that within your heart that is your longing too. We are at the beginning of a journey together, which we will see through and we will recover well from. But let us always be those who are looking out to our right and to our left and in front of us and behind us for those who are struggling, so that we may be for them the hands and feet of Jesus. Reaching out to help, reaching out to lift up, reaching out to help recover.